Hello friends, welcome to another art making video. If you're new here, my name is Melanie and I'm just going to jump straight into it. Today we are going to do some sketchbook art to try to combat some feelings of low creative energy. Maybe you call it burnt out, maybe you call it feeling stuck. We're just going to combat that with one of my favorite exercises today, which is painting or drawing really chaotic, colorful galaxies. Now, normally my comfort zone when creating a galaxy would be to use watercolor because I love how they're explosive and unpredictable, and that feels really just relaxing and fun for me. But I thought, why not throw in a little bit of an extra challenge, change up the game a little bit, and try it with my alcohol markers, which I'm still learning how to use and what to do with them. So those of you that are very experienced with markers, you may be watching me do this today and thinking like, girl, what the heck you doing? I welcome your feedback in the comments below. If you have a way to make a galaxy even better when using markers, I would love to hear your tips and tricks. However, if you're also new to markers and you end up liking this, how this turns out, then feel free to copy this chaotic method that I came up with. I'm basically just scribbling around with these markers to create layers and layers of color and just unpredictable patterns, which is a lot like what I would do with the watercolor, except the watercolor would move on its own, whereas here I'm having to fake that movement with these scribbly marks that I'm making. So it was definitely an interesting challenge, and it definitely is getting me a little bit out of my funk, because just putting a bunch of color to paper really helps me get past that feeling of being stuck, burned out, or low creative energy. Now, as I mentioned, I am not an expert alcohol marker user, so I don't feel like I am the right person to give you an actual tutorial on this, but I did have someone ask for me to make a tutorial. So instead of using the word tutorial, I'm just going to tell you what I did to create this effect. And like I said, this was my first time doing it, and I ended up doing it a second time with different colors, which you will see in just a little bit. But basically, I started by choosing 4 colors, 2 light, 2 dark. So the 2 light colors are the ones that I began with. I put down a very soft layer first with one of my light colors, and then I came over around the edges of that first color with my second color, and I made sure that the edges were overlapping. And after getting both colors down, I then switched back to the first color to kind of blend the edges together a little bit more. If that makes sense, I don't know. Then, once I was fairly happy with the amount of coverage I had, I very nervously switched over to my dark pink color, which you can almost see the hesitation in my hand as I'm putting this in, like, is this the right thing? Does this feel right? It felt very weird and uncomfortable through parts of it, but then I had to keep pushing through. It's kind of like when you have to push through the ugly stage of a piece of art. You have to get more layers down to make things look good. So I had to push past that feeling, which can feel uncomfortable, but it's good for us. So I kept going. And then I went back to one of the lighter colors and again went over the edges to help blend that in a little bit better. I think this is the right technique when using an alcohol marker, but maybe not. If someone has some good tips, feel free to share. But I decided this was my approach to trying to soften the edges a little bit and get that really dark pink or fuchsia color to blend in a little bit better. Now, the extra scary part, going really dark. So because putting this really dark purple down felt really intimidating, I decided, you know what? Baby steps. Let's just outline the entire thing with it and then go from there. And then you can see the nervous, like, all right, here we go. So then I start by working from the edges in. And that felt right. Like, it felt like the right thing to do, like I just did with the pink as well. So take that for what it's worth. Give it a shot if you want to or not. It's up to you. So once I was happy with the amount of coverage I had with this dark purple, I switched back to that kind of fuchsia dark pink color that I was using, and I come back over the edges where the purple meets the other colors just to help them blend in again, and to also be a little braver and put in more dark space. Because if this is going to be a galaxy, I need more darkness to let the stars and the light shine through, where I kind of splatter them in or hand paint them in later. So I just had to work my way up to it with the markers. And it is kind of similar to what I would do with watercolor. That's my bird, by the way. Hey, Promi. When I work with watercolor and do a galaxy, I don't just go with the first layer of paint. I come back in and I do add in more color and more saturation by dropping in or tapping in more color. So it's kind of similar in that way. I'm coming back with more marker, more layers, and adding in more saturation. Okay, so now I have switched back over to my lightest pink color, and we are, you guessed it, coming back over the edges of everything again. And I think I even start to cover up some of that base blue a little bit to make it a little bit more purplish. When I did my second galaxy, I decided to go a little more chill on the colors and keep them more in the pinks and purple range and not do any blue. And I think I ended up liking that a lot better. So it's up to you. If you want to go a little more wild with the colors, feel free to branch out, try something totally different than what I did. But if you like something to be a little simpler or limited color palette, go with more of what I did on the second one and stick with 1 or 2 colors instead of 3 to 4. I think it just kind of made the whole thing feel a little bit more pulled together when I skipped the blue the second time. Now here you are seeing me go against my advice and better judgment, and I'm adding in something that's almost more of a fluorescent pink. And it was because when you're blending alcohol markers, before they dry, it can almost give kind of a muddy or gray look to it, because I needed to wait a little bit longer for it to dry. So that's just something to know and get used to. But I decided to bring back in an even brighter, like I said, almost more fluorescent looking pink around the edges of things to cover up those areas that I felt were looking a little bit muddy or dull from all of the attempted blending. And I was doing this with a very light hand. I would almost compare it to like putting a glaze of paint over something where it's not gonna completely cover things up. It's just a very thin layer to bring in a little bit more vibrancy. So that's what I was attempting to do. And I actually think it was fairly successful. It did add to a little bit more of the color chaos going on. But if you like that, you like that. I had also decided from the get-go that I was also going to put colored pencil over the top, so I knew I had that to look forward to as well, that I just needed to get down these base colors so that I could come back in over the top and add in a bit more colored pencil to fix any areas that felt not quite right. So I do think by adding the colored pencil over the top, that's what caused me to end up liking the outcome more than I was liking it at this point. At this point, I was feeling kind of like, ugh, this looks like messy tiger stripes and not like a galaxy at all. See, that just looks like tiger stripes, doesn't it? I don't know. I guess that could still be beautiful in its own way. I just really wanted it to look more like a galaxy, and obviously it needs stars. That's what's going to bring it all together, but we're getting there. Okay, so we have officially switched over to colored pencil, and I decided if anything was going to fix this, it was going to be my all-time favorite colored pencil color ever, and that is the Mulberry color by Prismacolor. It is like it's just a staple color for me. If I'm feeling unsure, I just throw some mulberry at it, and you know what? It did the trick. I definitely loved what this was doing. So I was just swirling it around, swirling it in around the edges of things, and it was just really helping blend things together, but still maintaining vibrancy. That's what I love about this mulberry color. It is so vibrant, but still kind of has this darkness to it. It's just such a delicious color. All right, and the next colored pencil stepping in here is Violet Blue, which helped create even more vibrancy along the edges so they didn't look quite so flat. And I do like how this turned out as well. So the colored pencils really came in to save the day for me. All right, and at this point, I told myself to stop running away from the choice I made in the beginning and embrace that blue that I put down to begin with, and I switched over to another one of my favorite colored pencils called Light Aqua. This color really helped bring back out that blue that I kept trying to cover up and turn to purple, and I think it worked pretty well. It made things very, very colorful and fun and helped me not dislike that choice I made in the beginning quite so much. And then the last color you'll see me put down is just some white. I tried using that to kind of blend things together again and bring back a little bit more brightness, but I think in the future I would skip this and instead paint in some white like I do at the end, you'll see. It wasn't a terrible choice, but it made it almost look a little bit faded. All right, here we go. It's time for the absolute best part, which is putting in the stars. I started with my Posca pen, which worked beautifully over the top of these mediums. The Posca pen goes over the top of the colored pencil really well, whereas my all-time beloved favorite Copic white little pot of paint kind of doesn't want to accept the colored pencil beneath it, and they repel each other a little bit. But it can work, and I do make it work a little bit, but this Posca pen definitely goes down a little bit easier. What it does do though, the Posca pen, is it sort of soaks up color beneath it, and it won't stay super bright white unless you potentially put down a couple layers of it. I did paint this Copic white back over the top of some of those white spots though, where they kind of soaked up some of the color beneath, but it's also kind of a pretty effect when it does that. So like especially that mulberry or the violet blue color, the Posca soaked some of that color up and made like a light pink. And it is pretty, but if you wanted a bright white star, you might have to go over it a couple times. And so here's where I'm kind of painting in some of that Milky Way-like texture in there. And again, it kind of repelled against some of the colored pencil, but in a way that also kind of made it look really interesting. So as long as I give this plenty of time to dry and put a piece of paper over it before closing the book, it'll be fine. So here's how this one ended up. What do you think about it? Does it look like a galaxy, or does it look like tiger stripes? What do you think? Okay, so here we're gonna go into a second one, and this one's gonna be a lot faster. And this time I decided to stick with pinks and a little bit of purple, and I liked it, I believe, quite a bit more. I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. All right, so the second one was actually done the next day. So I came into it armed with all of my newfound skills from the first one, and I decided that I was going to actually put down my lightest color over nearly the entire thing instead of just a few small sections in the middle. So I actually put it all the way around the outside and edges, and I think that worked better on this one. And then I repeated that technique again using the next step up, or the next darkest color. And I think by layering it in this way, I ended up liking the result better because the blending worked out better, maybe. Again, any marker experts out there, let me know, is that why I liked this one better? All right, time to be brave again and put in one of the darker colors. I think I was a little bit braver when I did this one because I kind of knew from the day before that I had some tricks up my sleeve to make things look better. I just needed to push past this stage, and I think I did fairly well. I definitely moved more quickly this day, I'll put it that way. So I cannot tell a lie, this is still looking like tiger stripes, and watching myself back now create this, it's kind of obvious to me that another thing I could have done was like stop making these slanted lines. Like I don't know why that was the shape I kept repeating. If I had made more blobby like structures instead of these diagonal lines, it probably would have helped a lot. So yeah, we're headed in the direction of tiger stripes again, and maybe I should just embrace it. I'm definitely going to have to create some watercolor galaxies after this because I haven't fully scratched that itch to create some galaxies after this. However, this has been a lot of fun, and I did learn a lot about using marker. And if you're trying something new, I recommend don't wait too long before trying again. By doing this the very next day again, it helped me pull back in those little skills that I was starting to learn and immediately implement them. So definitely don't wait too long in between your art sessions and practicing. Keep at it. But I am looking forward to doing some of this with watercolor. If you'd like to see that, let me know. I can make another video with some watercolor galaxies and how I like to paint them. So this galaxy is nearly complete. You will see me come in with some colored pencil soon with that mulberry color I love so much, along with a fluorescent hot pink colored pencil, which is truly magical. And after that, I apparently did not actually hit the record button when I added in my stars on this one. So sorry about that. I'm as devastated as you. And then that's the end for this one. I'll give you a look at the whole thing. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you get to do something creative today and make yourself feel a little bit better by making some artwork. I definitely felt a lot better after creating these, and it makes me want to keep creating, which is what this kind of project was supposed to do. It was supposed to help pull me out of feeling stuck and just want to make more art, and now I do. And so I am very grateful for that from this art making experience. I have appreciated having you here. Definitely leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about these, or if you made some art with me. And if you haven't, consider subscribing because we make a lot of happy art here. I bounce between doing sketchbook work and color alongs inside the books that I illustrate. So if that sounds like your vibe, I would love to have you here. You are so welcome here. So I'm going to leave you at that for now, and I can't wait to see you next time, and happy art making to all of you.